Joining us now, Raymond Lopez is a Democratic alderman for the city of Chicago. Also joining us is LaToya Nkongolo, is a Project 21 ambassador and a Republican District 31 delegate of the Maryland General Assembly. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So LaToya, you just heard that report from Mike Carter. He is covering the entire Asia trip. What's your reaction, and what do you think about President Trump's historic meeting with Xi?
I think that this is another example of Trump being a great negotiator. I think that what he's doing is going to make a profound impact, not just for the U.S., but globally. And he's doing what he does best. You know, he's negotiating trades, tariffs, even defense and diplomacy. You know, this is what he stands for. And I think that this was a historic meeting that's going to have an impact globally.
Yeah.
You know, Raymond, I know you're sick of all of this winning. But you're just going to have to get used to it, Raymond. But, you know, the TikTok deal, in terms of reduction in tariffs, rare earth minerals deal, that's just with China alone. But we also will receive billions of investments from Japan as well as Southeast Asian countries. So this is a very historic trip that ended in South Korea. What's your reaction to all these great things that are happening as a result of President Trump's historic Asia trip? And what would you have liked to have seen that wasn't accomplished?
Well, I think first off, you know, decades ago, the saying was only Nixon could go to China. And now it's going to be only Trump could go to Asia and come back, realigning our relationship with our friends and as well as our adversaries. Look, many countries have been taking advantage of us, have been allowing huge trade deficits, and Donald Trump set out to correct that. And you have to give credit where credit is due, absolutely. And he's done a great job at doing that. What I think I would like to have also seen incorporated in some of these discussions, actually, were some of the human rights issues that we know are perennial issues in countries, specifically China, that don't necessarily share our views when it comes to how we treat our brothers and sisters in the human world. That should have been addressed as well. But you know what? This isn't a one and done, and there's plenty of time for growth in those conversations. But I think, as Krisha mentioned earlier, you want to ratchet down the rhetoric and the boiling point so you can have future productive conversations and not just make this a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, Raymond. We know how China treats the Uyghur population as well as women in general. So I would agree. I think that could definitely be something broached at a later point. And hopefully President Trump is able to achieve that as well. But turning now to Capitol Hill, Democrat Senator Peter Welch was on CNBC saying this about the shutdown and Republicans' efforts to reduce Medicaid fraud.
The point you just made, that's a reasonable point for discussion, but if we're not even allowed to sit down, and that's all really within the control of President Trump, you know, I've talked to many of my Republican colleagues, hey, how do we work this out? Because the folks who are going to get hit and hurt are a lot of folks who voted for President Trump. It's not just like a Democratic deal here. Well, so they're open to having these discussions, but the president won't give them permission to do that.
So, LaToya, Democrats still blaming President Trump for this shutdown, taking zero responsibility. This seems to be the overall narrative. Is this a winning strategy?
Finger pointing is never a winning strategy. You know, people's lives are at stake here. We have 750,000 federal employees who are furloughed. We have families that are going to lose their SNAP benefits. We have TSA, they're protesting. We need to, as I said before, be adults, come to the table, and put the needs of people first. We have to figure out a way to make sure that our military is paid. We don't want people to go hungry. We don't want families to not be able to pay their bills. Government, do your job.
You know, Raymond, LaToya makes a very good point. My dad always said, when you point the finger at someone else, you have at least three pointed back at you. So the Democrats really shouldn't point the finger. They really should open up the government and then engage in open and fair dialogue to figure out what the fiscal budget should be going forward, what gets funded, what doesn't get funded, to make it really transparent for the American people. What say you?
I absolutely agree. And look, 13 votes have already happened to reopen the government. And all 13, it's been a failure because Democratic senators refuse to have a clean continuing resolution. They want to use this as a time for politics. Many of them have said on camera, this is the only leverage we have. But if I were there advising the Democratic Senate, I'd say call the president's bluff, push for the clean CR, and let's see what happens after that. Because if the Republicans truly just want to open government and make it happen, let's see what goes on with that. Because you're right, the longer this drags out, as the delegate said, the worse it's going to be for the Democratic Party, because you could try to spin all you want, but once you have your constituency and your workforce both in the same breadline, things are going to change fast. And now with the union also saying that the Democrats are wrong, now we have problems.
Yeah, they have
True. Very
increased
good
pressure.
point. That's a huge union to actually point the finger. Actually, all 5 fingers towards the Democrats.
I think it was a fist, actually.
Well, let's turn now to the New York City mayoral race, less than a week, where an avowed socialist appears all but certain to become the next mayor. There's newly resurfaced video from a Democrat socialist convention. It's showing Mamdani making this shocking statement about the NYPD. Let's take a listen.
For anyone to care about these issues, we have to make them hyperlocal. We have to make clear that when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. We are in a country where those connections abound, especially in New York City. You have so many opportunities to make clear the ways in which that struggle over there is tied to capital's interest over here.
So, LaToya, the IDF he referenced there is, of course, the Israeli military, and his comments are now drawing criticism from many police officers and Jewish New Yorkers, rightfully so, who say the remarks are completely anti-Semitic and anti-cop. I have to get your take on this because this video is now just coming to light from 2023. I blame the New York media, the mainstream media. I mean, we're covering it now. We're getting to the bottom of it. But this video should have been coming out long ago. Your take on it?
You know, he has been dangerous since the very beginning. And I think that more and more things are coming to light. He's made it clear that he is anti-police. You know, I'm just really just floored that here we are just, you know, the elections are around the corner. And what else is out there that we have not seen or heard yet? You know, the entire agenda is dangerous to the state of New York, the New York City especially, and this is scary. I'm scared for all of New Yorkers and what this may look like for America moving forward.
Me too.
You know, Raymond, I don't only blame legacy media. I blame the consultants on the right and the left. Why? Because this should have actually come out not just during the general election, but it should have actually been used in a Democratic primary. Why? Because they should have done opposition research on Mamdani to make sure that videos like this is clearly presented to the New York voters as they go to the primary polls and as they head to the general election. What say you?
Absolutely. This should have come out during the Democratic primary. And you know what? Cuomo is right. There is a civil war going on in the Democratic Party. And the fact of the matter is this. Longtime true Democrats are afraid to use that kind of weaponry because they're afraid of having pointed at and canceled because of being Islamophobic or racist or whatever. But when someone reveals who they are, trust them.
Yeah. I mean, the statement was completely anti-Semitic, completely anti-cop, and yet the Democrats, like Kathy Hochul, endorsing him. Chuck Schumer, he's quiet because he's scared, but I mean, I'm scared now. I think we all are, for New Yorkers. To LaToya's point, what else is out there from this individual? But Raymond Lopez, LaToya, Nkongolo, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.